The Ballon d'Or is the most coveted individual award in football, and it also causes the most controversy. Sometimes people lose their minds. Today, we decided to tell you why humanity came up with the award and who the main ideological inspirers were. You will also find the truth about the scandal surrounding the first Ballon d'Or won by 41-year-old Stanley Matthews. Yes, you heard right. 41-year-old footballer won the first Ballon d'Or in history. And this award could never have happened because of the First World War, because its founder was a fighter pilot and even went through German captivity. This is an incredible story, friends. Get out the popcorn and learn more about the history of football. It's the first historical football channel on YouTube. It was football. Like, subscribe, and let's get started. It all started in 1946 in post-war Paris. Based on the magazine Football, a new magazine was published, the name of which is now known worldwide, France Football. The first issue of the magazine was published on January 8, 1946. At first, the publication focused mainly on local football events, covering French football, but the ambitions of the magazine's authors went much further. The idea to award the Ballon d'Or was born in 1956. Then, the editor-in-chief of the magazine, Gabriel Anno, asked his colleagues to vote for the best football player in Europe. Yes, just like that. He just asked the journalists to express their opinion, and based on that, the first Ballon d'Or was awarded, which looked quite funny. But more on that later. We should focus on the personality of Gabriel Anno, a former footballer who played for such clubs as Tourcoing, Prosenal Berlin, and AS Francis. He also played for the French national team. His position on the field is a defender. Gabriel was not just a football player, but a patriot, a French patriot. On August 3, 1914, Germany declared war on France, and France entered the First World War. Gabriel Anno, a fighter pilot, also entered the war. During one of his combat missions, his plane was shot down, and he miraculously survived, but suffered injuries that later put an end to his football career. He eventually ended his career at the age of 29, choosing to become a sports journalist. He became a journalist with L'Auto and Le Miroir des Sports. Gabriel Anno was a man of vision. He strongly supported women's football in France in the early 1920s. Most historians agree that the introduction of professional football in France in 1932 was due to Anno. From 1945 to 1949, he was the coach of France's national team. Football Makes History describes the impressive abilities of the inventor of the Ballon d'Or. But that's not all. With Jacques Ferrand, his colleague at L'Équipe, Anno developed the idea of the European Cup, a tournament for all championship teams across Europe, which later became the Champions League. He is also credited with creating the Champions League anthem, but this is not verified information, and we will make a video about it. Like this video if you want us to make a video about creating the Champions League anthem, which is known worldwide and is a favorite tune of many football fans. Gabriel Anno died in 1968, aged 78. We should be grateful to him for everything he did to develop our favorite game. Let's go back to 1956. Back then, the editor-in-chief of France Football and his colleagues were choosing the best footballer in Europe. Only a European could become the winner, and this rule was in effect until 1995. So the recognized kings of football, Pelé and Maradona, have never won the prize. The first winner of the Ballon d'Or was 41-year-old Stanley Matthews, a player from Blackpool, England. Now, it sounds like a fairy tale, but in 1956, journalists voted for the legend of English football. However, in that era, he was opposed by such stars as Sandor Kocsis, Ernst Öckwerk, Josef Bozic, Lev Yashin, Ferenc Puskás, Raymond Kopa, and Alfredo Di Stefano. Matthews had 47 points, Di Stefano 44 points, Kopa 33 points. At the time, France football's vote came as a real shock, as in principle it is nowadays. The 41-year-old Matthews, who just walked on the field, won. Stanley started his career as a winger, but then retrained as a central midfielder due to footballing old age. But his Ballon d'Or was indicative and showed that the winner is not always the one who has performed best in one particular season. The first Champions League took place in the 1955-56 season. This tournament was then called the European Champions Cup. Cup. The first winner was Real Madrid, which defeated Servette, Partizan, Milan, and Reims in the final on its way to the Cup. At that time, the main star of the triumphant team was Alfredo Di Stefano, who scored 5 goals throughout the tournament and scored one of the goals in the final. Everyone believed that the Spaniard should win. However, 41-year-old Matthews won. Why? When Matthews got the ball, there was always a buzz in the stands. Fans would come to see him, and in the 50s, it was Blackpool, not Wolverhampton or Manchester United, that drew the biggest crowds at away game. At some point, Matthews ceased to be just a footballer. He became the property and pride of the nation. When, in 1953, Matthews finally won the FA Cup final on the 3rd attempt, becoming the hero of the decisive match against Bolton, the whole country rejoiced. The striker of the losing team, Nat Lofthouse, later recalled that in Bolton he had heard from the fans more than once. Stan took the cup, and this fact alone reconciles us to the defeat of our favorite team. Historians wrote about the Stanley Matthews phenomenon. Back then, in the 1955-56 season, Blackpool finished second in the English Football League, losing 11 points to Manchester United. This made a massive impression on French football journalists because in the previous season, Blackpool had finished 19th out of 22 teams in the championship. At that time, Stanley played in the center of the pitch, scoring almost no goals, but his game was real football magic. He was admired in England and Europe. In addition, Matthews continued to play for the England national team even at 41, a natural phenomenon who continued to play until the age of 50. Let's give this gentleman a like. The first Ballon d'Or was relatively small compared to what we see now. This photo shows Gabriel Ano presenting the prize at the offices of France Football magazine. Yes, it used to be modest and not as pompous as now. This is what the Sir Stanley Matthews Ballon d'Or looks like now, and its value is priceless because it is the first Ballon d'Or in history. The current Ballon d'Or measures 31 centimeters high, 23 long, and 23 wide, and weighs 7,200 kilograms. Its economic value is just over 3,000 euros, although its actual value is symbolic, something valuable for footballers. The first Ballon d'Or and its history tell us one thing. The Ballon d'Or was invented to honor the best footballers in Europe. Knowing Gabriel Ano's story, you can understand the hidden meanings he put into this award. It is an assessment of a footballer's contribution to the development of the game. This award is not given for one successful season. It is about the player's legacy and his impact on the game. That's why the first Ballon d'Or winner was 41-year-old Stanley Matthews, whose game attracted 10,000 more spectators than any stadium could accommodate. Anyone who assembles stadiums deserves to have his name forever inscribed in the history of football. The Ballon d'Or is a historical book in which you will find a reflection of an era. This was the hidden meaning of the award, invented by Gabriel Ano, a footballer, pilot, journalist, and great football official. Ladies and gentlemen, please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the first historical football channel on YouTube. It was football, and write comments. What do you think this award means? It will be interesting to read your thoughts. We wish you a good day, ladies and gentlemen. Bye!